are now about to start recording the shir. When you are finished, please hang up.
Okay, welcome back to our Erev Sukkos Marathon. Erev Sukkos Marathon. As we start the bottom line of Daf Mem Vav Amud Beis. Now, I left some surprises for you for later. I didn't want to scare you off, but tonight we have a very loaded program. As I did already the Mishnah Yomi for today and recorded it. We're going to have, after this shir, we're going to have a shir called For the Shabbos Sukkos Table. Anybody who wants could join us for that shir. It'll be about 25-minute shir, more about Sukkos. And then I'm going to do the Mishnah Yomi for tomorrow. So we have a loaded evening yet. Thank you, Gedalia. But first, let's get through the daf with Hashem's help. Amar Rava. Rava tells us, Lo yishanu ela da'amala bezu ubezu ubezu. It's only if he tells her with this one, and with this one. So while he's saying with this one, she pops one in her mouth. With this one, she pops one in her mouth. With this one, she pops one in her mouth. So the first two, by the time he finishes his statement, are not here anymore. So at the time when he concluded his act of Kiddushin, the previous two are a milveh. However, aval amala be'elu, if he said iskachili be'elu, and she popped it in her mouth, afilu echeles nami mikudeshes, because she's eating it after he finished his statement. Kika achla, when she's eating it, midanavsha kachla, she's eating hers, what he gave her, so therefore it's a good act of Kiddushin. And they combine. Tanya Kavase de Rava, we have a brayso like Rava, hiskachli ba'aloin. It's interesting that Rashi, the art scroll, translates alone as a acorn. Now, does anybody know edible acorns?
That squirrels collect them for a reason. They must eat them.
Rabbi, the acorn is poisonous because too much tannic acid in it. So you can't eat it.
So, is it possible it could be cooked?
That I don't know.
It's very interesting. It's a very interesting. The las here aglant sounds eerily close to gulnut. But okay, the art scroll knows what it's doing. Could somebody Google acorns if they're edible?
They're not very edible, but people used to eat them when there was a drought or like a poor harvest altogether. So they're chak.
You mean they're a food al yidei chak?
Yeah. People would add acorn meal to flour when there was not enough flour.
Are you talking from experience?
No.
No.
From history books.
Mystery, man.
What comes up from Google, acorn trees are found in many parts of the world, yet few people eat them these days. You might wonder if acorns are edible. Yes, they are. But you can't just eat them off the tree. It takes some preparation to make them edible to eat.
Okay, so
Put them in your chol.
that's the answer to what Dr. Block was talking about. So
You have to boil them.
You have to boil them. Okay, so that's what it means. He's a marshal. He's not going to give her a pickle, because that marshal could eat. An acorn, he's lazy. He doesn't want to cook them. So it'll be Mekadosh, our Don Juan over here, will be Mekadosh with an acorn. Okay. I never heard this one.
I get all the girls that way.
This takes the cake. I've never heard this. This goes into the Guinness World Book of Record for romanticism.
The cake is at the wedding. We're not taking the.
Now, don't change the subject. Hiskachally, he says you should be mekudeshes to me, ba'alain with an acorn, berimain with a pomegranate, or be'egais with a nut. Oishe amalai hiskachali be'elu, you should be mekudeshes to me with these. Im yesh bekulan shava pruta mekudeshes. If they all equal a shava pruta, because he didn't say with one independently, he said with all of them. So if there is, with all of them, a shava pruta mekudeshes, v'imlav, but if not, aina mekudeshes. Bezu, bezu, bezu. If he says with this one, with this one, with this one, im yesh bekulan shava pruta mekudeshes, v'imlav aina mekudeshes. Now we have the dandy case. Bezu with this one, not lasa v'achlasa, she takes it and eats it. Bezu, not lasa v'achlasa, she takes it and eats it. V'ayd bezu, eina mekudeshes, ad she'ei achas me'em shava pruta. Now the last case, we said that the simplest way to learn it is that she's only mekudeshes if the last one was with shava pruta, because the original ones are, by the time he finishes his statement, are already a milva. But let's go back to the first case over here. Hai ba'alon berimain be'egais heichidami. With an acorn, with a pomegranate, with a nut. What's it talking about? Ida amala oi ba'alain, oi berimain, oi be'egas. Either with the acorn, or the pomegranate, or the nut. How could they combine? Im yesh b'kulin shava pruta mekudeshes. They can't combine. He said either one independently. Va'oi kama. He said oi, either with this one, or with this one, or with that one. So ella ba'aloin or berimain or be'egos. He must have said with the acorn and the pomegranate and the nut. So then we have double talk. That's the same thing as bezu, bezu, bezu. Haina bezu, bezu, bezu. Elalav, it must be da'amala be'elu, with these. But the Gemara says you can't say that it's with these because that's the next case. Hamiriktani seifa oisha amala iskachil be'elu, michlal de reisha la be'elu askina. So says the Gemara, no, pirushe kamafarish. Hiskachili ba'alainu berimain be'egais ketzad, kegain da'amar la hiskachili be'elu. It's where he says to her, you should be mekudeshes to me with these. The Ketani Seifa, it says in the Seifa, bezu, not lasai v'achlasai, if with this, she took it and ate it, or with this she took it and ate it. Im yesh ba'achas me'em. Now here the Gemara is translating ba'achas me'em, meaning any of them. Im yesh ba'achas me'em shava pruta mikudeshes, v'mlav ein mikudeshes. Excuse me. The Ketani Seifa, if he said not elu, he said bezu not lasava achlasai, or with this one, only with the last one she's mikudeshes. Bezu not lasai v'achlasai. Im yesh ba'achas mem, one of them, meaning the last one, shava pruta mikudeshes. V'imlav, but the earlier ones, since they're not there anymore, by the time he finished his statement, ain't mikudeshes. V'ilu reisha, where he said elu, if she popped it in her mouth, it would be good. Because as soon as he said elu, his statement is finished. And then if she pops it in her mouth, that's an act of Kiddushn. It's hers. It doesn't make a distinction between whether it was still there or she ate it. If he said with these, so his statement is finished, and then if she pops it in her mouth, she's eating what he gave her, that's good Kiddushn. Ki ka'achla minavsha ka'achla. Shma mina. Says the Gemara, Hanicha, that's good according to the earlier interpretation. Lamandi Amar Aseifa Koi, that the din of where she ate it and popped it in her mouth is going on the Seifa. Umay Achie Ba'achas Me'em Shava Pruta, it means the last one. Achie Ba'achroina Shava Pruta, then Hachanami, then this pshat works. Hachanami over here also, Achie Ba'achroina Shava Pruta. El Rav Shmuel de Amar Travayu Areishakai, that we learn pshat in the Mishnah when it says that if she when he said with this one and she ate it, with this one and she ate it, it's going on the Reisha, and it's talking about where he said hiskachi by each one. Hiskachi with this date, she ate it. Hiskachi with this date, she ate it. Hiskachi with this date, she ate it. And it's saying any one of the dates, if they have a Shava Pruta, it's good, because he said Hiskachi by each one. So it's not a milva. But if it's not a Shava Pruta, it's not good, and it's teaching you that even though Mikra v'Haniyasa, she had pleasure from it, we might think even if it's less than a Pruta, and the Kiddush is where she ate it, and we would think that maybe where she ate it, it's considered a good Kiddushin, even if it's not Shava Pruta. Haka, we can't learn that pshat, because here it doesn't say Hiskachi by each one. Klole kachashe prate like kachashe. So the Gemara says, no. Hamani Rebbe. This is going according to Rebbe. Rebbe, this takes us into another din, and that is this is going according to Rebbe. This the Gemara, the paucity of explanation here is amazing. This is taking us to the subject of pigel. We know that if you do one of the four avodas Adam, shchita, kabbalah, halacha, zrika, with a machshava to eat the carbon or to smoke up the carbon after its permitted time, it's pigel and it's an isukaris. If you have in mind to eat it, not chutzl zmanai, but chutzl mekaimai, it's not pigel. It's puzzle, but it's not an isukaris. Now, the Gemara in Zvachim the Gemara in Zvachim tells us that Rebbe holds that whether, let's see, who would be the Kayin that did this? It's a real dastardly thing. Marshall. Marshall, because Marshall is an expert in all 6 Siddharim. He's equally criminal in all 6 Siddharim. So what Marshall as a Kayin does is he says, when he's doing the Zrika, which is one of the 4 Avodas Adam, sprinkling the blood, he says, K'zayis l'mocher, K'zayis l'chutz. We say that that's, you see, if you hold, you have to have the machshava pigel alone. So, if you say k'zayis l'mocher u k'zayis l'chutz, so there the machshava pigel was first. So then it's chorus. If you say k'zayis l'mocher k'zayis l'chutz, then it would be the machshav. If you say ksayis macher u ksayis l'chutz, there for sure the machshava of pigel is first, and then it would be an isikaris. If you say without the connecting vav, ksayis l'macher ksayis l'chutz, then it might be together. It might not be a pure machshava of pigel. So now let's see what Rabbi holds. So so Rebbe is of the opinion that if Kohen Gadol Marshall said that I'm doing the Zrika for Ksayis Pigel, Ksayis L'macha, which is Pigel, Ksayis L'chutz. So we could argue that that's one whole statement. And then the pigel is not independently unadulterated, and then it wouldn't be an isakaris. But Rebbe holds that without the connecting vav, it's still considered like two independent statements. So here also the Gemara is teaching us a whole different chiddush in the Sefer over here. It's telling us that if Marshall said, Hiskacheli bezu, even though there's no connecting vav, we still say that we view it as if it's together. We still say, sorry, I just want to make sure I'm explaining this right. You have to forgive me. Give me a moment. See how busy I am, Rabbi Say? That I didn't prepare this acutely. Excuse me. I don't like to keep people waiting. Okay. So what the Gemara is saying now is that the Seifa over here argues with the Reisha. And when it says in the Seifa over here that in the Reisha it said hiskachli bezu ubezu ubezu, they can combine. The Seifa argues on that. The Seifa holds like Rebbe, whether you say Kizayis Pigel and Kizayis Chutz, or Kizayis Pigel u Kizayis Chutz, they're two disjointed statements. Here too, if he said Kachi Bezu, 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 or Bezu, Ubezu, Ubezu, they're disjointed statements and they don't combine. Rather, you would need to have one of them being worth a pruta on its own. Number two, he holds that therefore each one is a separate statement of his kachi. So even if she pops it in her mouth, if it was worth a pruta, she would be mekudeshes because each one is considered like having its own iskachi, so it's not mekadesh b'milva. Is that clear, or I mixed everybody royally up? For this, they take the Rebbe out and give him a beating.
Oh boy.
I'm sorry it's late, but I'm going to do this last piece again to make sure that I'm satisfied that I'm at least giving you a chance to understand this. Says the Gemara, El Rav Shmuel, according to Rav and Shmuel, the Imre Travayu Arei Shekai, that what it said in the earlier daf, where she eats it, he says be mekudeshes and she eats it. Be mekudeshes and she eats it. It's going back on the Reisha. And it's not talking about that you're only mekudeshes with the last prut, with the last date. But it's going back and saying where he said be'elu, with these, so that she would be mekudeshes with each one right away. And it's talking about if only one of them, even the first one, is a shava pruta, but if either one is not a shava pruta, you're not mekudeshes. And v'aycheles it's strichalei, and it's telling you that even though the hiskachi is going on each one, if it's not worth a pruta, she's not mekudeshes. What's the chiddush? It's not a pruta. The chiddush is because I might think that since is immediate benefit, maybe she's mekudeshes even with less than a pruta, but you can't learn that that's a case over here because hacha klole kachashiv. It says just elu or bezu prate like kachashiv. It doesn't say hiskachi by each one. Says the Gemara Hamani Rebbe. This is going according to the opinion of Rebbe. That says whether you say bezu or bezu ubezu, we say that each one is a separate statement, and that each one cannot combine. It's different than the Tanakama. The Tanakama says if you say bezu, they could all three combine. He holds loishna kazayas. It makes no difference if Marshal the Kohen Gadol says it should be a kazayas l'mocher kazayas b'chutz, with the kazayas mocher being an act of pigul. Whether there's no connecting vav, v'loishna kazayas kazayas mocher and kazayas chutz, there is a connecting vav pratahabe. It's disjointed, and therefore since the kazayas l'mocher comes first, it's pigul. Here too, where we say bezu, it's disjointed. It's an act of Kiddushn with each one. They cannot combine. Even if she eats it, the first one is also with a hiskachi. So if it has a shava pruta, it's mekadeshes. If not, it's not mekadeshes. Okay, that is the pshat. Rabbi Kranz, why are you looking at me like that? Oh, okay. No reason.
I wasn't looking. No.
Okay.
I understand it, Baruch Hashem.
Okay. Now, it's no chiddush that you understand. It's a chiddush that I muffled it up so badly. It's a chiddush that anybody understands it.
I'm usually the one who asks. So I'm usually just a little bit slower than some of the other people.
No, you're not. Amarav. First wide line on Daf Mem Zayin Amar Aleph. Amarav. Hamakadesh b'milva eina mekadeshes. Now this is one of the lumdish sugyas in Masechtas Kiddushn which we had on Daf Vav. What is at stake over here is a very interesting thing. I give Sarah a loan of $100. There's two ways to look at a loan. This is really interesting. You could look at a loan that I give it to her and it's hers, and she can do whatever she wants with it. That's called milveloit sonit. A loan is meant to be spent. So that means that it's completely hers as soon as I give it to her. Then if I say the next day, I'm mekadesh you with the money that I gave you, it's no good. Because that was hers already. I'm not giving her anything new. That's called milveloit sonit. There's another way to look at it. The other way to look at it is that I give her Sarah a loan. She can only use it for investment purposes. Because it's still my money. I just give it to her to use. So then I could say you should be mekadesh because now I'm giving her the money. In other words, I give it to her that she could use, but it's still my money. If you look at it that way, then you could be mekadesh b'milva. It's a very convoluted way to look at a loan. But so let's see the Gemara inside. Amarav, mekadesh b'milva and mekadeshes. If you're mekadesh with a loan, it's not a good Kiddushn. Why? Milva lights on it. No, a loan is given to be spent, and therefore, as soon as I give it to her, it's completely hers. Now, if I say she should be mekadeshes with the money that I gave her, what do you mean? It's hers already. I'm not giving her anything new. Says the Gemara, name it Tanoi. Let's say this is dependent on machlokes Tanoi. Hamakadosh b'milva eina mekadeshes. V'yesha im mekadeshes. My lab b'hakam ifligi. The ma'asav a milva lights on it. That the money was given completely hers. Or ma'asav a milva lav lights on it. It's not for it to be spent. It's only for investment purposes, but it's my money that I allow to use. Then if I give it to her, that's a good Kiddushin. Says the Gemara, V'tizber ema seifa, v'shavim b'mecher shezeh kana. Everybody agrees that if I want to buy a piece of karka from her with the loan, then I could buy it. So, but if there's a maniyama that says that the money is already hers, then how could I buy the karka? I didn't give her anything. I didn't give her any new kesef, but my kani. Amar Rav Nachman, huna chavrin, huna our colleague, mukam la b'milei uchrei. He explains it completely different. Here it's talking about where I tell Sarah, you should be mekudeshes to me with 100, v'nimsa mana chasa dinner, and it's lacking one dinner. And the question is, what's the din? Ma'asavar, one says, ksifa la milsa la mitba. She'll be embarrassed to ask me for the last dinner, and therefore she's not gomer or maknei nafsha, she doesn't give herself over because she'll be embarrassed to ask me for the last dinner. Or ma'asavar like ksifa la milsa la mitba. She won't be embarrassed. Then according to this, but by mecher, it's not a problem because by a sale, nobody is embarrassed. It's only business. Says Gemara, Elahad Amar Rebbe Eliezer is skachli b'mana v'nasan la dinner. He says you should be mekudeshes to me for a mana, and he only gave her a dinner, a very small amount. Everybody holds harizuk mekudeshes. It's a good kiddushin. V'yashlim. Lema ketanoya amal shmaitzi. Is it dependent on the previous two opinions? Says Gemara, no. For so much money, she's not going to be embarrassed to ask. Imrei mana chasa dinner, if it's only missing a little, ksifa la she'll be embarrassed to ask. Mana chasa tisha matasha, but if it's missing most of it, like ksifa la milsa la she's not embarrassed. Meisvei, ha'imr le'isha hiskachli bepikadon sheyeshli biyadcha. He says, look, I gave you a deposit. I told you to watch my $100. And she went and she found it was stolen or lost. If there's left a shavapruta, so then it's a good Kiddushin because there's left a pruta. Then mekudeshes. V'yemlav ain't a mekudeshes. Ubamilva, but with a loan, afal pi shelo yishtayir menu shavapruta mekudeshes. Even if of the money I gave her as a loan, there's only left a pruta mekudeshes. Reb Shimon Elazar, I'm a Mishim Reb Meir. Reb Shimon Elazar says in the name of Reb Meir, milva harihiki pikad. That milva is like a deposit. That whether there's left or not, the Tanakhama says whether there's left or not, she's mekudeshes. Reb Shimon Elazar says only if there's left $1 of the loan. But everybody holds, obviously, milva lav loitzan in them. Because if it's already hers, then I'm not giving her anything new. Ad kan pligel marsav milva afagat lo yishtari men pruta. Even if there's not left a pruta, marsav nishtari men pruta in. Only if there's left v'loy nishtari men pruta loy. But everybody holds aval the kuli alma mekadosh b'milva mekudeshes. Says Gemara, you think this makes sense? You think this brisa is not a flawed brisa? Amar Rava v'tizbara hamitaretzta. You think that this is a proper brisa? Hamishabeshti. It has to be flawed because hay pikad and echidami. What's the case over here that I gave her the money and it was lost? It was stolen. Either kabbalah le'achrayis. If she's, let's say, a shomer sacher, so then I'm being mekadosh her with money that she owes me. So then that's not different. I know milva. Either loy kabel alei achrayis, and if she didn't accept responsibility, ihachi aditani seifa, why did it have to go into the seifa and talk about a new case of milva or b'milva afal pi shelo yishtayim meneshava pruta mekadeshes? All you had to do is make a distinction whether she accepted achrayis on the money or not. Niflik v'nisnei b'didam b'med v'amamum shelo kibla alei achrayis, where she didn't accept achrayis for the pikad. Aval kibla alei achrayis, so then it's a loan. Aval gav lo yishtayim meneshava pruta mekadeshes, according to you that a milva would be mekadeshes. Rather, this whole thing is flawed, and pshat is as follows. Elatorah, you want to know the true interpretation, which is going to make sense out of everything. Ubemilva afal pish nishtayir heimenu shava pruta, in a loan, even if there's $1 left of the loan, I gave her $100 loan, even if there's $1 left, ain't a mekadeshes, because the money was already given to her. Milva lights on him. Reb Shimon ben Elazar, I mean Mishur Meir, milva harihi kipikad. A loan is like a deposit. So what does he hold? What does he hold? That if the money is still there, she's mikudeshes. But my kamifligi, here's the question. If I give Shelley a $100 loan, and Shelley doesn't use it, can I ask him back for it? Stam loan is for 30 days. If he didn't use it yet, can I ask him back for it? If I could ask him back for it, then I could say you should be mekadeshes with it, because I'm now waiving my right to ask him back for it. Amar Rabba ashkechantinu l'rabbanim bebei Rav, the Yosvei v'ka'amrei, they were sitting and saying, b'milva b'rishus bailim l'chazara, whether milva is in the rishus of the creditor to demand its return, v'uadin l'oinsin kamifligi. And if Shelley didn't use it yet, that maybe Shelley is not chayiv for any accidents. The marsaver milba b'shus loivakain. Once Shelley has it, it's his. V'uadin l'oinsin. He's responsible even if there's an accident. And therefore then you wouldn't be able to be mekadosh with an isha with it because it's hazaret. Or marsaver milba b'shus bailim kaima. No. A milva is in the rishus of the creditor. Until Shelley uses it, it's in my rishus. V'uadin l'oinsin. Shelley didn't touch it, he's not chayiv for an accident. Says him, no, that can't be. I gave him a loan. He's not any less than if I gave him a loan on my vacuum cleaner. That's for sure. Shelley is chayiv if there's an accident. My time, it's not any less than a vacuum cleaner. Where he returns the vacuum cleaner, he has to return the vacuum cleaner itself. So he has less advantages. Chayiv b'insim, he's chayiv if something happens to the Electrolux. Milva, where he has more privileges, he doesn't have to return the actual money, like kol shrein. But the other thing, you're right. Maybe if it's still by Shelley, I could demand it back, if he didn't spend it yet. So if you hold that I could demand it back from the girl, then I could be mekadosh her with the fact that I'm waiving that I'm not going to take it back. The alahada amar Rav Huna hashoyel kurda mechaveiroi. If Shelley borrows an axe from me, bikaboy, if he chops with it, kana. Loi bikabai, if he doesn't shop with it, loi kanu. So lema ketano yamr lishmaitze. Let's say that's dependent on this machlokes. Says the Gemara, no. Ad kan loi pligi ela b'milva d'loi hadra be'ena. The money, he doesn't have to return the actual money. So with the money, he doesn't have to return the actual money. It could be that it's already his, and I can't demand it back. Aval b'sheila d'hadra be'ena, but by the axe, where he has to return me back that axe, divrei akol, the only time he becomes responsible for it, bika bayin, only if he chops with it, loy bika loy. So now the Gemara gives one more try. And Rabbi say, thank you all for your patience. This is not a walk in the park. People that are veteran Daf Yomi learners like Ruvain will agree that this is not a walk in the park. Right, Ruvain? Not a walk in the park. Gedalia says, maybe a walk on Mount Everest, but not a walk in the park. I am figuratively patching myself that I was mitzvah the island by not being prepared enough by that piece of Gemara. But okay.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
Rabbi, what is that? What do you mean the money has to be, and the money can't be intact? If I lend you $100, you have to give me back $100. If I lend you a hatchet, you have to give me back a hatchet.
There's a difference. If I lent you a hatchet, you got to give me that hatchet. If I lent you $100, you don't have to give me that $100.
Ah, okay.
Now, name a kitanoi. Hiskacheli b'shtar chayv. Oh, I have a promissory note. I have a promissory note that Marshall owes me $1 million. Right? I have a promissory note. And I tell Sarala, you should be mekudeshes to me with this note. Or I have $1 million in Marshall's hand, v'hir shalehem, and I gave her power of attorney to collect it. Rameir mekudeshes. Rameir says mekudeshes. V'chachamim aimim eina mekudeshes. So, hayshtar chayv heichidami. What's the case where I have a promissory note? If it's the way I explained it, that I have a promissory note that Marshall owes me money, that's the same as the second case, that I give her power of attorney to collect from Marshall. What's the difference between the two cases? So, says the Gemara, Hai shtar chayv heichidami. Ilay mashtar chayv da'acherim, that Marshall owes me $1 million. Hainu milva biyadachem. That's the same thing as the second case, where Marshall owes me $1 million, and I gave her power of attorney. Elalav shtar chayv dida. It means she owed me money, and I moichel the debt. Ubemekadosh b'milva kabifli. Says no. No. You can't be mekadosh b'milva. Loilam shtar chayv da'acherim. It's talking about a promissory note on Marshall. But the two cases is one, v'hacha b'milva b'shtar, or b'milva al pekah miflagi. Here they're arguing about a written loan and an oral loan. One is where it's written, I have an IOU that Marshall owes me $1 million, and one is an oral loan, a verbal agreement. B'milva b'shtar b'may pligi. So what's the machlok is whether I'm giving her something of value. I'm giving her $1 million. I'm giving her an IOU signed by such chashuv people as Rabbi Kranz and Shelley. That Marshall owes me $1 million. Why shouldn't it be a good Kiddushn? Can you acquire a note with a Kinyan Masira? I give Yitzi this promissory note, this document, and I say you should acquire it. Then afterwards I say, you think I gave you $1 million? I just gave you the paper to use as a cork on your asti spamanti. And the question is, can words be acquired through Masira? Says the Gemara, but plukta the Rebbe v'ramnasin kamifligi. The Tanya oisiyos niknas b'Masira, the binding words of the promissory note can be acquired just by handing over. Divrei Rebbe. The Chacham say no. You have to give over the note, and you also have to write a shtar that you're selling the actual debt. Bein shekasa v'loy masar, whether he wrote a document but did not give over the promissory note, bein shemasa v'loy kasa v'loy kana, you don't acquire ad sheyichtar v'yimsa. So Mar, the one that says that if he just gave, I just gave Sarah the note, Mar Islay the Rebbe, so just giving the Sarah the note, assuming, by the way, the note is not worth a pruta as a cork. Right? So Mar Islay the Rebbe, that she doesn't get the debt, so she's not Mekadeshes. Or Mar Leslay the Rebbe. V'ibay is saying the Kuli Alma Leslu the Rebbe. Yeah. Nobody holds a Rebbe. Nobody holds that Oisiyos Aniknas b'Masir. But v'hacha b'Rav Papa kamifligi. And here we're arguing with Rav Papa. In other words, it's talking about where I did write a shtar. But in the shtar, I just wrote that Sarah should get this note. I didn't dot the I's and cross the T's. I didn't say the note and everything it represents. I didn't say the note and all of its shibud. Says the Gemara. That's why we have lawyers. To dot the I's and cross the T's. That's what Shimon Klein makes a living on. Says the Gemara, V'hacha b'Rav Papa kemifligi. Damra Papa hayman dezovin shtar lechavrei. If somebody sells a document to his friend, sorech lemichtav leknei lochu, you're acquiring the paper v'kol shibute, and all what it represents. Maris like Rav Papa. One holds like Rav Papa, and therefore, since he didn't write all what it represents, she's not Mekadeshes. Omar less like Rav Papa, and one does not hold of Rav Papa. Now, although this is not such a great place to stop, we're going to stop here, and we will reconvene on Motzi Yom Tov. I did not yet set a time for Motzi Yom Tov, but I have a feeling that it's going to be early. I have a feeling that Motzi Yom Tov is going to be 8:30.